Hello, happy campers. Today we're going to do a quick review on one of my new hunting knife edition, and for comparison purposes I have my Benchmade bushcraft on the top, and let's take a look at this. As you can see, this is what they call the Damascus steel hunting knife, and all this area right here are the evidence of that. I tried to sharpen this knife, and after testing this knife I formed following opinions. Okay, first of all, there are a lot of knife companies putting out Damascus steel hunting knives or any kind of knife with Damascus steels. Okay, the real Damascus steels, the formula for making the Damascus steel knives has been lost. Nobody really know what happened, and all the Damascus steel is a version of original Damascus steel. It's not the original. And after trying this knife, after several weeks, I found a big, I would say, big problem with all this imitating Damascus steel knives. Okay, it came with a leather scabbard. It's fairly nice. It's pretty tight. The belt loop's 2-inch belt loop, and the handle is pretty nice. But the biggest problem is with the steel, or the imitated Damascus steels. I made this knife fairly sharp. I'm going to use a piece of paper. Do a little cutting. As you can see, it cuts fairly well, but the problem I am experiencing with Damascus steel is that, as you can see, the discolorations of the steel itself, it means that there's two different types of steels were used to make this knife. And the darker, I don't know, either the darker color portions the harder steel or the softer steel. But when you try to sharpen the edge, if you just happen to have an area where the softer or harder steel has a chip or something, it would be a lot harder to keep it sharp. That's the biggest problem I'm facing with. But on the other hand, as you can see on this bushcraft, the bushcraft knife is using a modern tool steel. The material is very consistent, very easy to keep it sharp, and it stays sharp for a long time. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of difficult to even see the signs of a usage on this one, but this one really stays sharp. And now comparing with this, well, they're similar in length, but the cutting edge is about, I would say, about ½ inch shorter, because this part right here, the Benchmade bushcraft goes all the way down to almost where the handle is. In today's technology, I don't really know if there's any advantage of using the so-called Damascus steel. The good German steel, American steel, or Japanese steel, they will produce a very high quality steel. A knife like that with a quality steel will hold its edge for a long time. But a lot of them made in China or Pakistan or God knows where else they came from, but you just don't know what kind of a steel they use. Yes, it has a pattern of a Damascus steel, but it's not a guarantee of a quality. For example, when they ground the edge, as you can see right here, it's not even the line is not even straight, and I have to use a lot of grinding to straighten this line up. And the same thing on this side, they're not even what you call matching both sides. And when I try to sharpen the knife, as you can see, This portion of the blade is actually has a concave, and so it goes in. So I end up sharpening this line and the edge together. The same thing on this side, as you can see the color differences. So it tells me this is probably not a quality knife to begin with. It does has the appearance of a Damascus knife, or it feels pretty good in your hands. But would I depend on this particular knife for all the situations hunting situations, survival, or bushcraft? The answer is pretty obvious, no. I'd rather just stick with bushcraft from Benchmade, a very high quality knife, very high quality steel, and it stays sharp for a long time. And yes, the spine is a little bit thicker, but this is something that you can use with your baton or something to split woods. But that's probably the good reason for it. But with this one, would I ever try that? No, because I don't know when they bond the steel together in this particular knife if the steel is going to stick together. If I use a baton on this blade, there's some possibility it will just break off. And for the meantime, this beautiful looking knife stays on my workbench. I used to open letters, open boxes, and that's about it. For all intent and purposes, it's probably never going to be a hunting knife. But one of these days, I may just take it out in addition to my other hunting knives. In a real hunting situation, I would just give a try for a couple of minutes and see how it holds up. Anyway, as usual, if you have any questions, comments, please leave down below, and I will try to answer them as much as I can. I would never tell anyone that I'm an expert of a knife or steel making, but this is just this practical experiences I got from using both. Anyway, thank you very much, and I wish you guys have a good one.